17 years ago, when we did the very first Yogi Berra baseball camp, I had an amazing experience. What I used to do as for instructors at that camp is I used to bring my college and my high school varsity students, and that was kind of like their reward for doing well, was they got to work at the camp and meet Yogi and stuff like that. And so I asked one of my older pitchers to do to work with the little kids. And one of the stations was pitching mechanics. And I said, why don't you just give them a little, 10 or 15 minute talk and demonstrate, proper pitching mechanics. And I sat there and beamed with pride as I watched one of my students just flawlessly teach, explain, and demonstrate proper pitching mechanics. I mean, he nailed it. He got it perfectly. And that pride faded a few minutes later when I started to kind of realize, wait a minute. The things he knows and understands and can now teach, he can't do. So that was 17 years ago, and that question got me thinking on a path, which led to the creation of the 90 Mile Per Hour Club, is that there's just more to it than how we move as pitchers. Now, as pitching coaches, we like it to be about those things. We want it to be about mechanics and drills and all that kind of stuff, but it's just not. And all too often, the things that prevent our players from performing at their highest level, from making the most of their God-given potential, are things that we don't have the solutions for. Let me explain. Go with me here. I promise you I'm going to make sense of this. I always use the analogy of building a building when we're talking about a pitcher. We have dad seminars at our office, and we spend the better part of the first part of our seminar talking about this analogy of a building. So if we were going to construct this building, the first thing we would look at is the land, right? We would look at where we're going to build that building. What's the land like? Did it used to be a garbage dump? Is it a swamp? Are there sinkholes or anything? Or is it like steady, even, level, fertile ground for us to build a building? So that's our fertile ground. Fertile ground for a pitcher is your body. You're not going to pitch for any length of time without your body getting out of whack, right? If you're a right-handed pitcher, you're making a lot of left-hand turns, right? You're going a lot in this direction. You're not going to make 120 left-hand turns every 5 days, 9 months of the year, and not get things out of whack. Think about it like rotating the tires on your car. In a car, you make more right-hand turns, right? So your tires get worn out. If you don't rotate your tires, the first thing that happens is the car doesn't perform as well. You have to do more to keep the car in line, right? Then if you consistently don't rotate them, then it could make structural damages on the car, and then the car could break. And that's what happens with pitchers. When we're not maintaining a pitcher and we're not maintaining that fertile ground, what happens is it becomes harder for them to perform. They start compensating to stay in line, to pitch well, and then over time we see structural damage when they don't take care of themselves. This is where we need a good physical therapist and a good athletic trainer. A physical therapist can assess, screen, and evaluate a pitcher in ways that a pitching coach could never do. They can tell us, what's tweaked. I don't want to use big, dangerous words here because I want you to understand it, but basically they can tell us what's out of whack and what needs to be put back in whack, right? You got a tight muscle here, you got a muscle imbalance, left to right, front to back, top to bottom, in to out. If you've got a tweak or any way that you want to define it, they can tell you what it is. These people are brilliant. They're brilliant, and they can tell you what it is, and they can give you the corrective exercises to do over the course of a season that can help eliminate how much you get out of whack, right? And that's the 90 Mile Per Hour Club. That's why we created that, was all those exercises to kind of put you back in whack. We consulted a lot of physical therapists and strength coaches for that. Let me move on, and I'm going to sew these two things up. After fertile ground, we have the architect. Now, I squared the architect, and I marked them off here for a good reason. I'm an architect. Pitching coach is the architect. I tell you how it should look, what it should do, how it should function. I'm going to pause there. I'm going to come back. Number 3 is the builder, and the builder is the strength coach. Okay? So the strength coach is going to provide the strength, stability, and the endurance to repeat what the architect wants to do over and over and over again. The problem is this, the architect. We tend to go to the architect with problems that an architect can't solve. Now, I'm an architect, I'm a pitching coach, so I'm telling you, I know enough about these two areas to be dangerous, but I also know enough when I need to consult a professional and an expert. We go to pitching coaches with problems that pitching coaches can't solve. I'm a pitching coach, so I'm saying this. Let me give you two examples. When we have a pitcher, we have a teach called the power angle. And the power angle is moving forward at first motion towards home plate. That instead of stop at the top, it's actually an angle towards home plate. So a lot of that, let's just use the ankle. A lot of that is how well your ankle works. Okay. So let's say you came to me every single day for instruction. I taught you the power angle. You understood it. You could see it. You could identify it. You could even, like my old student, you could teach it, but you can't do it. Well, there could be something going on in your ankle. Maybe it's tight. Maybe you got a little minor injury in there that I can't fix as a pitching coach. I'm not qualified to do it. What I do know is that after a certain period of time of instruction, if I'm trying to teach you the power angle and you can't get it, I do know now that I need to send you out to somebody who can help me. So now, a qualified physical therapist can assess, consult, and evaluate your ankle and say, oh yeah, man, your ankle's a little tweaked, your ankle's a little tight. Let's give you some exercises to loosen that up. Now, the architect is working with the fertile ground specialist, the pitching coach and the physical therapist are working together. They fix his ankle, they get his ankle working right. Now I can actually instruct the pitcher and he can use the instruction that I'm giving him. Where until that ankle was fixed, my instruction was wasted. Pitching coaches, we don't like to say that we don't have the solution. Put your ego aside a little bit. I was there, I understand it. Put your ego aside. You're gonna say, if you send them out and you get them right, and a professional gets them right, now they can start to use the instruction that you're giving them. They're going to do better. Guess what? The coach is always going to get the credit. Who was the strength coach on the Patriots this year? Who was the physical therapist on the Patriots this year? Who was the head coach? Bill Belichick. Everybody knows that, right? So here's another word. Let's say you have inconsistent mechanics. Kid just cannot get their mechanics right. They understand mechanics, they can do mechanics. You consulted with your fertile ground specialist, your physical therapist, they said, no, the kid's good. Here's the thing, he lacks the functional strength to support mechanics. Now, I know enough about that to train pitchers, but I also know enough to know when I need a specialist and an expert. That's where we go to builders, for strength coaches. If I have a kid who cannot repeat his delivery consistently over and over again, there's a strength issue. There's the functional strength is not present to support repeating his delivery in a consistent manner. If he can't repeat his delivery, he's not going to maximize potential, he's not going to throw with command and control, and he's not going to be able to throw different pitches consistently. So now I know that I need to consult with a strength coach who can who can give them the base of functional strength to support the mechanics that I want him to reproduce over and over again. Let's say I got a kid who can throw well for 2, 3, 4 innings, but then loses it. He doesn't have the endurance to hold his mechanics together. So he can hold them together for a certain period of time, but not over the long haul. That's where a strength coach can come in and help him build the endurance. So he can build the strength to support the mechanics and the endurance to support the mechanics over the long haul. So now I'm working with these two guys to help my vision of the building build or get built. I got a brain lock there, okay? Now, if I've got fertile ground, and I've got great plans, and I've got a great builder, I can build this thing to the sky. If I don't have fertile ground, or I don't have a good architect, and I don't have a good, it just doesn't work. The last piece of this puzzle is the building manager. Now, the building manager is after we've fertile ground, our architect has worked, and we've built the building, now it's built. Now the building manager, he's the one that's going to operate the building, maintain the building. He's going to say what goes where, how it gets used. That is your everyday coach, right? So in this situation, you've got a physical therapist, you've got maybe a private pitching instructor, you've got a strength coach, and now you got your high school coach or you got your travel team coach who's not involved in these other things. But he's the one that's going to decide how you're used. So he's the one that's going to look at he's going to say, does this kid have the strength to repeat mechanics and to perform at his best? Does he have the endurance to do it over and over again? Do I know what the architect wants to see as far as his mechanical delivery and his unique style? And am I constantly checking in to see if there's something here that is out of balance? Is he doing his corrective exercises? Is he getting assessed maybe a few times during the year to make sure that everything is working well? If the building manager doesn't know that, what happens if the building manager here doesn't maintain the building, doesn't clean the building, doesn't control the tenants, lets them do whatever they want? What happens? The building will fall into disarray. All four of these people need to be on the same page. The problem is we go here for everything. So the pitching coaches are listening. If they're going, look, I don't ever think that we're going to eliminate people going here initially. The pitching coaches, I'm telling you this, if they're going here initially, this is your responsibility to make sure that you're educating them about these other areas. If you educate them about these other areas, you are going to look like a genius, because the kid's going to do well, the kid's going to perform at his best, he's going to make the most of his God-given potential, he's going to throw hard, he's going to throw strikes, he's going to throw different pitches. You'll get all the credit. You'll look like a genius. But a lot of pitching coaches don't like to send people out because they want to think like they got all the answers, or they feel like maybe they're going to lose business or lose lessons or whatever. You're not. You're not. You're going to gain business because your players are going to do better. And when your players do better, what happens? You get more referrals and your business is going to grow. So that's it. 4 pillars that you need to maximize whatever God-given potential you have and to build the best building, build the best pitcher that we can. So thanks for going with me on that. I hope I opened your eyes and maybe helped you look at it a different way. Pitching coaches, if you need help with this, I love saving pitching coaches. It's one of the greatest things I do. Email me, 567pitcher@gmail, 567pitcher@gmail. I will help you. I will bring you to salvation, pitching coaches. Trust me. All right, guys. Thanks.